And thank you to the African Materials Research Society for hosting this conference for us. I'm very looking forward to, we have been working together for a while, and I'm very looking forward to more working together between our ARUA Centre of Excellence and the African MRS. I think this is going to be a good collaboration. I didn't prepare any pretty slides for this part because basically things are about to change. And part of that, things are about to change, I'm hoping will come from people at this conference. This conference is very experimental. But first of all, let me welcome you and say how delighted I am that you're here. And I'll tell you a little bit about ARUA, first of all. So ARUA is the African Research Universities Alliance. And I think it's 17 universities, it keeps changing, all across Africa. And the nice thing about it is that they are mainly the research intensive universities in the different African countries. So South Africa wasn't allowed to have too many universities there. Otherwise, we might have had a too high a representation. So that's what ARUA is. And it came out of the Vice Chancellor's meeting of various universities. And people often ask me, how do they make their university an ARUA university? Well, the answer to that is they have to go directly to ARUA, but it's quite, they do want to bring in different universities to make it stronger, but they're starting off fairly small initially and letting it grow. And then what happened under ARUA is there were 13 ARUA Centres of Excellence established. And we did this by a competitive bid, which was quite nerve-wracking. And these started to be established in 2018. And as I said, it was quite a complex process. And the idea was not to have too many at any one university. It was limited to a maximum of 2, which is great, and not to have too many in a given country. But, so you didn't want the more well-endowed countries like South Africa swamping everything because they've got better equipment. So that's great. But the other thing with the Centres of Excellence, they are virtual Centres of Excellence. So every Centre of Excellence has got participants in more than one country. So we had this thing where we established the ARUA Centres of Excellence. Then, and what they are trying to cover is the Sustainability Development Goals of the United Nations, so the SDGs. And we, in our Centre of Excellence, we cover a range of them, or we try to, okay? And what our theme is that we want to work in materials to make Africa more self-sufficient and try and help it get more competitive on the global environment. We have various themes that sit underneath. We've got about 7 themes. And I have got a nice slide of this, but I didn't want to put it up because things are about to change. And the reason why things are about to change depends on funding. And what's happened is we are coming to the end of our first lot of funding, which was given to us by United Kingdom Research Infrastructure or Initiative, UKRI. So we're using that funding at the moment. And what we're using that funding for is to bring up, it's to develop young people. It's research, it's human capacity development, okay? And when we put in for this grant, we had to say what we wanted to do, and we had really good plans. We were really excited. We were going to run workshops all over the place to bring people up to speed, to try and work out how we should focus experiments, what we're going to work on. And then we were going to educate our younger people, not just as students, as postdocs and as young members of staff. We were going to move them around with workshops, with courses. We were going to move people around to teach them. We were going to move researchers to the equipment so that they could do their research and all that sort of thing. Well, we got the grant and then COVID happened. So we all got locked up for 2 years and we couldn't think, we had a long time trying to get around that. We lost some of our people to COVID and some got sick that they took a long time to recover. So it's been kind of difficult and we haven't done what we wanted to do. But this is where the African Materials Research Society comes in. They've helped us with this platform. And although this is the first conference like this that we're running from that we put out from ARUA, from our ARUA Centre of Excellence, this isn't the first time that we've contributed to their work. Okay, so we're hoping to do more of this, and it took us a while to sort of try and get this conference sorted out, which was a bit scary, and it's very experimental, and I'll come back to you. So what we're doing now is we've also been developing and producing videos on different things. And what these videos are to do, some of them are on equipment, and you saw part of that before the conference started properly. And what we're hoping for that is to educate people on their equipment so that they can understand what various equipment does, and they can get a feeling of, do I need to use this equipment or is it not useful for what I'm trying to do? And then to try and build up collaborations, because obviously the people who are producing those equipment videos, they've got the equipment and they could be open to collaboration. Okay, so that's one thing we're trying to do. The second thing we're trying to do with them is educate people generally. So educate them a bit about what each equipment does. Because sometimes researchers just think, oh, I need to do this, I need to use that, but they don't really know what it does, and they're not getting the best out of that technique. And sometimes it's not even the right technique that they want. They've just heard somebody else has been using it. So there's a bit of education on that, which hopefully will save a bit of time and money. And then on the other education side, we've done some videos that are on interpretation of things, how to run software, and also the ones which I'm really excited about are how to write winning proposals, because that's really important. That's coming soon. We're just chopping it up into bits. It's been done. And the other one, we've got a series of 8 at the moment, and they are on writing, and they are wonderful. I didn't do them. Somebody I knew did them, who works in that field. And while I was sort of vetting them, I was learning and I thought, wow. So I am really excited about that. And also there's some good tips in the how to write winning proposals. So there's these videos that are on the link. And although they're aimed at young career researchers, I think anybody at any level could learn something. And sometimes you need a bit of reminding. And I'm most grateful to some of my colleagues who sometimes when I'm forgetting things or not quite doing things the right way, they say, hey, what about this? Brilliant. Because we're much stronger together than we are in our little silos, okay? Remember that lovely African expression that it takes a village to bring up a child. Right, so that's what we're doing with ARUA. We hope to be having a conference, a workshop in Kenya later this year, and you will see more about that. But Prof Arding is running that. Then about this conference. So I'm very excited about this conference. So thank you everybody for coming. What we're doing is it's very experimental. And as I said, there were some pieces that we had to put together to get it to running. It's probably more our fault than anyone else's, because we just didn't have people free at the right time. And so very kindly, African MRS is hosting it for us, which is really great. And it's very experimental. So when we put out the call, we might have given people too long. And what happened is at the last minute, we were inundated with abstracts. Now, I didn't want to turn anybody away if they had something that was vaguely falling under our theme. I think I did turn one away because I just couldn't see the link. And I asked my colleagues in case I was missing something. And then there were some which came after the deadline, which was the 10th of August. And we had to have a deadline because we needed to put the program together and also put the abstracts together, which you should be getting somehow. So that's very good. And now, because we've got lots of people at this conference, it sort of constrains the way we have to run it. And I hope you don't mind. So we're not allowing questions after each presentation. And you'll notice that apart from the 4 plenary speakers who have 15 minutes, everyone else gets 10 minutes. And you might think, well, that's not very long. And I agree with you, it's not very long, but that's the slots that fitted nicely. I didn't want to end up with a 12.5-minute slot. That's the slot that fitted nicely to get everybody in. So we're not allowing questions, but as has already been mentioned, put your question in the chat and we'll try and get back to it. We have got a discussion at the end, and that's an opportunity. And if we run out of time, then we will work out how to get those questions to the presenter and then how to get the answer back. We'll work out how we're going to do that, because there's a couple of ways we can do that, both of which are nice. And then the other thing we're not going to do, which you might think is a bit rude of us, but it's to save time, we're not going to introduce people and give their topics. There's 2 reasons for that. One is that we have a very full program. And the other is that often when you introduce people at conferences, the chair will say, here is person blah, 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 project blah, 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 from X university. And the first thing that happens is the person presenting says, hello, I am so-and-so from so-and-so university, and this is my presentation. So it's like, it's a repetition. So what we're just going to do is we're just going to say something like, okay, now it's the next presentation. Now we've got, hopefully we've got all the presentations now, and African MRS has got that. And if they have, they will run them. If they haven't, you will be asked, have you got one? And we didn't really want people to share their own screen, because sometimes that can take a few minutes. Remember, we've got a totally chock-a-block program. So if people can't share their screen, they'll be invited to talk around it and get as much as they can. If not, we'll have to go on to the next presentation. So it sounds really harsh and not quite ideal, but we've got so many abstracts that came in on or before the deadline that I didn't want to turn anyone away that was half, you know, that had any, that could fit into our theme. I did turn another person away because they didn't send me enough information. They sent me a paragraph. Somebody sent me a paragraph and then sent me the rest of the information anyway, so that gets there. So that's where we're doing. And I think I'd like to finish and again say thank you very much. So I apologize that this conference is running a bit differently, that we're not allowing questions, we're not introducing people, but I think it will work. So thank you very much.